Finally, we got the 30-minute extravaganza. It's running a little late, but it's going to happen right now, so let's cue the goddamn music. Hey, this is Manny Moonraker, and this is episode number 93. It is the first 30-minute episode, one of two this week. It looks like the next episode will be live. And I apologize for that intro. I was a little forceful because we're here and we're going to talk about what we have, these two news articles. And I think that somebody finally pulled themselves up by their big girl panties. And we're going to talk about that in that first article because, as you see it within the title of this podcast episode, I mean, somebody had to do it. Somebody had to get elephantitis of the balls and come forward and say, just plop it on the table and say, this is it. I'm telling you that this is it. So let me grab myself by my big girl panties and pull them up. Strap on them boots because I'm about to be kicking some ass all over the place here. But before we get into that article, I first got to say this. I want to thank you guys who have been sharing the Facebook pages for UFO Buster Radio and Manny Moonraker. And on top of that, anyone that's been basically following the Instagram account at Manny Moonraker and the Twitter at UFO Buster Radio. I thank you immensely. If you shared it, if you liked, if you talked to your mama, you talked to your dada, your cat, your dog, your fish, and told them about the podcast, I thank you. Somehow, in these 30 minutes, I'm going to work in a way to every week acknowledge by name everyone that does it. I'll let you know when that happens. And maybe I can post that on ufobusterradio.com some way. Somehow. For those of you who are stuck on YouTube because you love the Logan Paul brothers, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and those guys, guess what? After you watch one of their shows, if you're one of their 17 million followers, head on over to UFO Buster Radio. The podcast is on there too. Eventually, sometime this year, we'll go to video. And I know I keep saying that. I do. But really, the channel needs to grow before we can make that happen. Because YouTube is a little crazy right now. With all these rules and newfangled ideas that basically they've become the biggest rubber dickers on the platform is the people that run it. But if we can get that channel to grow, we'll go full video and then we'll take on Security Team 10 on their own turf. And I know you guys would love that because some of you do it anyway. So let's go on to this first news article because, and again, we cannot get rid of this whole situation, can we? It seems like this Tic Tac Pentagon video is not going to go away, and maybe it shouldn't. Maybe this should be the topic of conversation for a long time. But on both sides, we've received promises. We've received promises that we're going to see more videos. We're going to do this. We're going to educate that. We're going to do projects. We're going to make our own damn spaceship, according to Blink-182's homeboy, Tom DeLong Short, on delivering. But no one's coming through. So one of the last things we heard before this thing with the Pentagon thing blew up, or maybe during, it's a blur right now. This Pentagon thing is just bananas. But we heard there's going to be more videos, more evidence for us to look at. You just weren't going to dangle that carrot with this Tic Tac video in our faces. No, you were going to bring everything. You're going to dig up all the carrots. You even were going to give us the bunnies that were trying to eat the carrots so that we can have them as a stew. But none of that happened. We've been waiting for all these extra videos, all this great evidence that apparently they were going to release so that we can be real believers, not just people who fake the funk on bullshit and hoaxes. But it seems like somebody came out and decided to strut their stuff. There was gonads all over the place in this article, so let's jump right into it because it has to do still with the Pentagon situation. Now, the title for this article is Pentagon UFO, U.S. has more radar footage of UFOs, says former boss of Secret X-Files. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure some of you are sitting around saying, what the fuck, Manny? Why are we talking about this? Why isn't there anything else for us to go over besides this craziness with this tic-tac video nonsense? That's because everything is being shuffled around or kept aside or not being reported because everyone wants to talk about this video footage and the potential of other video footage. Specifically, the man named Luis Elizondo, or Louis for short, or Luis if you have a little bit of a Latino in you. So Luis, which is the man that led this program, which was known as the which was known as the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, ATIP for short, which ran from 2007 to 2012 for the tune of millions of dollars. We know last week that we had a story that said that SETI, the idiots that look at or they listen for sound, or they look for any other reason to show that there is no such things as UFOs here related to anything that's 4.2 far. We know those pencil-pushing geeks got together and said that the video that came from that fighter jet, along with those pilots, was nothing more than the exhaust from another plane. Now, somehow they omitted the entire history of David Fravor's career, which was pretty much coming to an end at that point, as a pilot. I mean, it's like saying that your dog, when it goes behind another dog, doesn't realize that thing that he's sniffing is not really another dog's ass. This is what we said. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not what I said. That's what SETI said. That's what the pencil neck geeks at SETI said, that dog, David Fravor, was sniffing another dog's ass and he had no idea that was another dog's ass. Just replace the asses with exhaust from a plane. That's what we got last week. But apparently, Mr. Elizondo might have taken offense to that. So apparently he was speaking to Las Vegas Now. And he said this, and this is a quote within the article, which is linked in the description. There's more to the article as always, so, go ahead, check it out, read it, have fun with it, dissect it, rubber dick it a little bit, you make your own mind of what the hell is going on here. But Elizondo, or Luis, if you're Latino, he said the Department of Defense made the decision to release the video. Released at the unclassified level through the DoD, approved the release for exactly the reason why the request was made. So it was completely on the up and up. Now, he might be talking about the reports which say that he kind of lied about why the videos were going to be used, apparently for like training or some shit like that. And, the DoD said, nah, that's not really what he said. And, false pretense. But anyway, it got released either way, so he doesn't care. He did his rubber dicking and he got what he wanted. But then the article goes into the fact that apparently at the time that this interview occurred, Elizondo, or Luis, had actually heard about SETI's little, conference, meeting of the minds, whatever you want to call it, a rubber dicking session. I don't know what it was. Because he then said this. When he tells you he's seen something go from near hover or something over the water going 450 knots, and all of a sudden it takes off over the horizon in 2 seconds, you'd better believe he is telling you something he has seen. He's referring to David Fravor. And he's referring to the fact that the SETI people said that, you know the analogy. He was sniffing a dog's ass and he didn't know it. And then he continued, and by the way, that's backed up by 3 other individuals that were also on the same flight. And in addition to that, it was also then layered by radar operators. So he makes a good point. So you're telling me that not only did David Fravor not know he was sniffing a dog's ass, the operators who were watching had no idea that they were watching ass sniffing. They thought it was something else too. It really harbors on ridiculous how so many different people want to put their own take on it. It is almost impossible to really put a completely scientific spin on this video, and just this video. Just you're sticking this little video and you want to say that everyone that was a part of it, everyone that had an interview, anyone that was associated with that aircraft, that military aircraft, you're saying that everyone's a bunch of idiots. And if we go again back to SETI, you can't even get your own shit right. How in the hell are you going to tell these guys, these military men and women who were on the aircraft, who saw this thing firsthand, that they're smoking something? What I enjoy about this article is that finally somebody from this camp, from DeLong's camp, decided to come forward and say, step aside, you guys are full of shit, you're talking a lot of nonsense, and you don't have enough sense to know that your own program sucks like hell. But you want to sit around fondling each other and trying to say that the U.S. military just has a bunch of bozos flying their aircraft. You're saying that these guys behind that stick don't even know what a dog's ass looks like. Check out the article. It's in the description. And of course it goes to, the one place where all the UFO stories go, but nobody wants you to visit and read there because they're full of baloney. But like I always say, this is the only place people go to talk about this stuff. If you are looking into ufology, the pseudoscience of the craziness, and you don't go to the only place that's really reporting what people like you and I who have an interest in it are saying. So check it out. It's the UK Sun. You already know. Don't pass out. I did it. I did it again. Oops, I did it again. The link is in the description. Check it.
You're listening to UFO Buster Radio, and I have a question for you. Do you like to go fishing, or do you want to learn how to fish? Well, I have the answer for you. Whether you're an avid angler or just starting out, Angling Waters Outdoors is the place to learn and advance your fishing skills. I'll be your guide, Marty Angler. And I'm not just a bass fishing tournament angler, but I also like to fish for other species as well. I'll help guide you through the different methods and baits to help you catch more fish all year long. So catch me at Angling Waters Outdoors here on Spreaker. Now back to UFO Buster Radio and my friend Manny Moonraker.
Okay, before I get into the next article, I want to say this. I had that one episode regarding Nick Pope, how people were saying that he was a disinformation campaign person. And that was the Moonraker phone. And so basically, it's weird because most of the episodes, I get a lot of feedback, a lot of people talking back and forth, good, bad, or indifferent. But for Nick Pope, there was very little conversation. So it almost seems like many people actually do believe that Nick Pope might be part of this information. So my question to you guys is, let's get this conversation going about Nick Pope, because Nick Pope pretty much is at almost all the UFO conferences. He's there to talk about something, and apparently there's a few conferences coming up that he's going to be there, and he's going to talk about the Pentagon issue and the Pentagon videos. My thing is, what the fuck does he know about the Pentagon stuff? He wasn't even there. He's probably no better than the people from SETI. Maybe they'll all get together and rubber dick each other and do some fondling, and they'll come up with a new story. But I just found that fascinating that we really didn't get any feedback on Nick Pope, but that he's going to be going out to talk about things like this Tic Tac video. I don't know about you, but if I was a disinformation campaign superstar, I may, in fact, use the latest and greatest story in order to throw a spin into it, because we already know that he doesn't think that that particular Tic Tac video has much to do with anything. He doesn't believe that it's actually a UFO from 4.2 far. So why not continue his evil ways at UFO conferences? But what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think? Do you think that Nick Pope is part of this disinformation campaign trying to throw a wrench into ufology and the things that people want to know about by putting this negative, nasty wrench into things? Just because he is Nick Pope, former MOD guy. So let me know what you think. Put in some comments, tweet me, Instagram me, Facebook me. Let me know what you think about Nick Pope, because I really think that there's more people out there at this point that think Nick Pope is more disinformation than he is pro-ufology. So let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, so we're ready for the next article. So the next article is kind of familiar because last year we talked about this one individual that got together these apps that you can get from Google and make your own maps. And if you recall that this person put together a map of UFO sightings. The sightings were almost 60,000 sightings, and they range from 1995 to 2014. And I remember that episode specifically because I was kind of like taken back by the fact that I at one point really thought that most of the UFO sightings happened in the South. According to that map, the majority happened in the East and all along the coast of the United States. I'm sorry for you guys who are in England, Australia, Japan. He only did it for the US because the data came from New Fork. But I was quite taken back by the map, and especially since the area that I thought would have the most UFOs, the most abductions, because there's a lower population. Turns out that maybe UFO sightings don't happen as much. So maybe the cattle here in Texas is pretty safe. It's not getting abducted. It's not getting, probed. The cattle's good here. It doesn't glow in the dark. But everywhere else it does. But in this article, which is titled, "Is That a UFO? Nearly 60,000 UFO sightings compiled since 1995 show correlation between sightings and military bases." That's right. Eventually it was going to happen. Eventually we're going to have this conversation. Because conspiracy says that the majority of the UFO sightings that people see, it's really a bunch of fancy military equipment that really hasn't been released to the public, but is out fucking around in the air, flying around, just doing its shit because it can. Who's going to say no to it? The guy who put the initial map together is a man by the name of Adam Crahen. So he took that database of UFO encounters that was being put together by New Fork, and for those of you who don't know, New Fork is the National UFO Reporting Center, and he plotted a total, and here's an exact number, of 58,828 reports. This guy did not sleep. That's a lot of shit to put together, but he did it, and we have it. If you follow the link, it'll take you to images of his original report, his original map of the UFO sightings. And I think in the article itself, you can actually go to it. It has a link in case you didn't do it last year sometime. But what somebody did, they said, hey, nice report. What if we take this and add some of the military bases? What if we add some of the military bases to this and see what the heck we get? There's an image of this in the article also. And what they're saying is this. There is a slight correlation between UFO sightings and military bases across the United States. Now, please look at this map clearly because the green is the actual UFO sightings. There is a significant amount of green that is not around military bases at all. So don't get that twisted. This is not an answer to everything. Instead, what you see that where you have the heaviest amount of military bases, you do see a lot of green. A lot of UFO encounters. This doesn't really answer the question either way. Is it all military? Is it all 4.2 far, outer space? This could be, of course, a combination of both. And the fact of the matter is, it's a UFO, unidentified flying object. So, if the U.S. military took a toilet, put some rockets on it, shot it up, it's a UFO. There's no way around that. It's not from 4.2 far. Some sorry sucker got on it and actually decided to let them shoot him up into the air. The article makes a good distinction between these two because it pretty much says that there is no way that anyone can actually say that this is all military equipment, aircraft, test vehicles, experimental vehicles. You really can't say that. But it does say that for a long time, things like the Blackbird and a lot of the drones that are out now, a lot of the stealth fighters, that these aircraft were always being mistaken for UFOs, and also that people thought that they were from 4.2 far, little green men and so forth. It also makes another clear comment here about why people might think this, and that is because a lot of time these test vehicles or these experimental vehicles that are being flown by the military don't conform to what a commercial aircraft might do. You don't see commercial aircraft having VTOL, and that is the vertical takeoff and lift. So if you see something taking off vertically that looks like a delta wing or doesn't look like any plane you've ever seen, you're going to think it's a UFO from 4.2 far. So this is what the article is saying. There's a lot in it. There's a lot of examples. They talk about a few things, but the article does end with this one question. Is this a reasonable explanation for nearly 60,000 sightings spread over a 19-year span that these are really correlated to military bases? The answer is it may or may not. There is some correlation here, but don't get it twisted. Don't sell all of your alien toys. Don't give away any of your little ETs that you're keeping handy, because if you look at this map, there is a significant amount of area that is not correlated to army bases. So keep your collectibles. Get that chastity belt so that you don't get probed when the day comes. Protect yourself. Because what we might be seeing is an interest by UFOs into what the military bases are doing, right? Isn't that another conspiracy? The reason why they're here is because they're trying to stop us from blowing ourselves to pieces. I mean, what else can you say, right? I mean, why would a higher power with all this technology want to stop us from blowing ourselves up? Not really sure. I personally would say fuck it and you guys can blow yourself to blazes. But maybe that's not what happens. Maybe this is a benevolent being, a benevolent race that loves everybody, aside from a little probing and cattle stealing. Hey, why not, right? Kumbaya, let's all get together. Let's be happy. But the link for this article is in the description, and it actually comes from a website that's kind of like a publication that's for veterans of intelligence operations. So basically, these are just a bunch of retired intelligence people who like to talk about things, and this is one of them. And they jumped on the bandwagon of the Pentagon situation because they can. So they'll sell a few more clicks. And get a few more viewers thanks to the Pentagon, To the Skies Academy, Tom DeLonge, Luis Elizondo, and the gang. So those are the articles for today. I want to thank you guys, of course, for listening. This is the first of the 30-minute episodes. But before I go, don't forget, let me know what you think about Nick Pope. You know, what's his deal? Does he have elephantitis of the balls? I mean, the dude is getting paid for going to one UFO conference to another. Is it possible that he's rubber dicking everyone? Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, hit me up on social media, email me, call me, leave me a message. Next Friday, I'm going to try my best to get Big O on the episode. We want to do it live for episode number 94. You know what happens when he gets on here? It gets a little crazy, out of control. But you guys are free to join us. If you want to join us through Skype, the Skype ID is in the description of the episode, and it's actually in the description of all the episodes. You can add me on, and we'll get you in through Skype. If you want to call, the number is 972-290-1329. You can call that number, you can leave a message, or you can call that number when the show occurs live. And get your 2 cents in. Talk to shit, curse out Big O, be nice to Manny, but enjoy the show. And lastly, what I'll do is just to make sure that everyone plans accordingly and shows up and gives us a hard time, I will post Thursday evening the time for the podcast to make sure everyone has an opportunity that wants to call in, shoot the shit, and talk crazy. That pretty much is all I have to say for this episode. I thank you guys for joining, especially if you wasted 30 minutes of your time today listening to Manny Moonraker ramble. But we had good articles. The Pentagon bullshit was still, it's not going to go away. I mean, we're stuck with it. So just enjoy it while you can. Time for me to check out. Talk to you Friday. Ciao.